By His grace, Alhamdulillah.
Well, first, let's start from Fitch because they are relying on data from you. In fact, they are specific from October 2023. Have you seen what they've put out, and what do you think?
Yes, thank you very much for having me, Senna, this morning. I've seen the Fitch report that cited our report in their analysis or the outlook for the next year. But I wasn't surprised at all, Senna. Remember, Fitch and EIU have been doing this for many years. And in the past, I believe that they were talking to people, opinion leaders and experts to gauge what could happen in the election. But with us coming into existence and doing what we believe is the best practice in polling, I think they stopped talking to these people and they are using our data now. And I'm not always surprised at all when they started our report. Because they are not just the only one. There are many other companies who are into advisory on investment that are relying on data rather than hearsay and expert opinion, which are grounded most of the time with kind of skewed analysis.
But did they capture your data? Because they have put regions together. They are doing Volta and OT as one. They are doing the northern regions as one. And I think there are about 5 regions, They are doing the swing regions as one unit. And they are doing the Akan regions all together. If you put all together, is the data properly captured?
I think they did. What they did was that if you look at the report that we have done, we have put Volta and OT together as they have done. And I think it came from our numbers. And then we put the swing regions together, Greater Accra, Central, and Western as swing. And then the northern, they are looking at the entire northern region put together, not just northern region, the northern regions. Upper West, Upper East, Northeast, Savannah, and Northern region Eastern is what they put together. And then also we also put together the Akan region, Central, Western, Ahafo, Western North, Bono East, Ashanti, Eastern region put together. And that's what they got. And that's precisely what our data was showing.
Now, on Volta and OT, which they put together, they were doing close to 70% of the votes for the NDC as against MPPs, about 12%. It's a trend that is not surprising, based on the results from 2020. So that is, for a lot of people, was that quite predictable?
Remember, we are a bit early in the race in terms of there are voters who are undecided and there are voters who are saying someone else. We believe that getting close to election, this someone else and undecided would firm up and probably move towards a candidate. That will move the numbers quite a bit. But in terms of the overall outcome, we don't expect that to fundamentally change the overall outcome.
So the 18%, because if you look at the numbers, you're doing 12%, 70%. Where were the 18%?
Let me look at the report. Are you talking about Volta region?
Yes, Volta and OT, because I see if you put the about 70% of the NDC together with the 12% of the MPP, you are looking at 82%.
So you look at those, the remaining balance being undecided or voting for somebody else.
Okay. What about the northern region? So a lot of people, when they see this data, they will be surprised because there are people who expect actually that if Dr. Baumia is elected, he will do far better and maybe be closer than 32% as against about the 60% of of former President Mahama. Was that what you got?
No, you see, people have been speculating about this, but there's no figures for them to show. We are giving you figures. And remember, northern region is a very complex region. It's not just about Baumia. There are also things that are played out right now in northern region that may not favor him. We've seen, in fact, initially, sometime in 2022, he was doing quite well in the northern region itself. But this time around, I think it's quite changed dramatically against him. And the numbers are quite worrying if you are in his camp when it comes to northern region in particular.
Now, where there's a little, because when you mention the Akan regions, people will put in somewhere like the central region, western region that could swing, but they're doing both swing regions and the Akan regions. How did you separate the two?
Okay. You know, when you mention swing, it is the three: Greater Accra, Central, Western. They are the swing. They are also Akan, mainly Akan regions. So when we account the Akan region, we must also add them back. So in terms of the Akan region, we're talking about the Akan dominated regions. If you sum those regions up, who is doing what there? And that's what we showed. Because the numbers look closer, because in Eastern region where MPP is supposed to be doing very well, it's not doing as well as they should be. And then also you look at Ashanti region, where they're supposed to be doing in the areas of 70% and 75%, they are doing far below 50%. So that number is really, really hurting the Akan regions when it comes to MPP overall.
But if you put the numbers together, you're still missing about, think about 20%, more than 20% of the people who were they undecided, especially in the swing regions. Were they undecided, or they prefer somebody else? Side the two major candidates.
In the central region, it's not very huge. I think it is the western region that is really huge. Almost 20% or more prefer somebody else. And another big number saying that they were undecided. But you know, as the voting gets closer and they can't find out somebody else, they will make a decision as to who they want to vote for.
Okay. Then there are the Akan regions. But before that, how did Greater Accra look from your data?
It's pretty bad for the MPP, and I don't think anybody's surprised with Greater Accra. I think the numbers are pretty bad here, and that has really made it worse for the MPP. Considering the fact that the Greater Accra and Ashanti region contributes close to 38 to 40% of all voters in this country. And if you're not doing well in Greater Accra and also struggling in your backyard Ashanti region, that is the source of worry.
And then let's end with the Akan regions, and that's where I am surprised that you're doing about 36-37% for John Dramani Mahama and about 34% for the MPP. That's actually the stronghold of the MPP, that no matter what happens, they're able to edge out the NDC most of the times using the Ashanti votes. What happened?
No, you need to break this down. Then you understand where the problem is coming from. Central region is out of reach for MPP this time around. They are doing very bad there. And that showed when Kennedy won that region, that region. And when you look at Bono region, it's another a big problem area for MPP in 2024, if they want to take a stock of what is happening there. The numbers from Bono is quite bad. Then you come to Eastern region, where they're supposed to do very well. At the moment, it's not that looking rosy in Eastern region. The numbers are not mind-blowing in terms of how MPP lives. And in fact, if you look at people who approve or disapprove the president, even his own region disapprove him. So those are the reasons why this number is looking so bad. And in the Central region, they have to be dominant there. At the moment, they are not. And to the extent that you have John Mahama attracting about 27% of Ashanti vote, 27%, and Alan Martin eating up to 16%, and Mahmoud Bawumia around 44%. So Ashanti is in disarray as we speak, and that is contributing to the reason why the country is quite close at the moment.
You're saying that the president cannot, at this stage, even hand Dr. Bawumia Eastern region comfortably?
It's really tough at the moment. And you see, some of these numbers have to be read in conjunction with other data that we publish. If you look at the direction of the country, what does it say in Eastern region? If you have people seeing the right direction, then you expect that you should be rewarded for that perception. At the moment, everywhere in the country there's wrong direction, including Eastern region. And when it comes to the approval of the president, about 48% disapprove his performance compared to 44% in the Eastern region. So most people disapprove his performance. So those are the things that are driving these numbers against MPP. And I think once you understand those drivers, then these numbers will begin to make sense.
Then, like you said, things must be really looking bad. But I know sometimes you do some qualitative analysis too. Do you ask them why?
No, we have, sometimes we ask them in an indirect way. Remember we ask people what would be your top 3 issues that you would consider before you vote for a candidate. They tell you economy, jobs, education, and corruption. Now we look at those who mention jobs, who are they voting for? You can figure it out. Those who said education, who are they voting for? And those who said economy, who they are voting for? And those who said corruption, who they are voting for? As we speak, where is the economy? As we speak, what is the perception of corruption? As we speak, what is the perception of voters about jobs and education? If these factors are in positive, then you expect the government to reap the benefit. If they are in free fall, then you expect the government to be doing bad. And these are the drivers of why people are voting the way they are voting.
Wow. And you told me the last time that if the MPP had elected Mr. Kennedy Ejapong, there would have been incremental gains as we get closer to the election. What do you see with Dr. Bawumia? Is it declining, or is possible he can also go up? What's the trend with him?
Every candidate after election may experience some bump in the poll. Some bump may be negative, some bump may be positive. He may go down or he may go up. I think whether he goes up or down, we'll see that in the January poll. But clearly from what we saw in the data, Kennedy Japan was doing better in certain aspects and among certain demographics. If you look at the Akan region, he was doing better than Bawumia in the Akan region. And remember, the Akan region contributes bulk of the results of this country. Very fundamentally, very key in terms of who wins the election. So he was doing better than Bawumia. We don't know whether Bawumia will recover and perform at the same level as Kennedy or below it. We'll see that coming in the coming month or so. And then we look at how people perceive Bawumia, especially among floating voters and among MPP themselves. So within the MPP, there's no doubt he is popular, as the poll suggested, that about 62% of MPP voters want him, compared to 32% who said they wanted Kennedy. But when it comes to floating voters, they were heavily against Bawumia and in favor of Kennedy as a form. And if that trend should continue, and if maybe Bawumia is not able to change the mindset or the perception of him among floating voters, this would carry him through the election, and that could really be a problem for him in the 2024 election.
There's one other person who is in the race, who still has thrown his heart into the race. He's been seeking the presidency for so long. Alan Kojo Tremantin. The last time you were doing, when he had already hesitated and become an independent candidate, so now he would definitely be a candidate in 2024. How well was his independent candidature doing?
I've always said that you can't compare Alan's independent candidature to the previous ones who have come before him. Alan is coming from a formidable background in the region of Ashanti region. And Alan is giving some people options. And let me make this clear to you. And I think for me, data is the most important thing. There are those voters who will never vote for NDC, come what may. They will never vote for NDC. Now, Alan in the race means that they have options. If they don't like the option MPP has given them, they may decide to either stay at home or vote for Alan. Now, and that is what is going to hurt MPP going forward, unless we find a strategy of stemming that flow away from Bawumia to Alan Chiramatin. Any person who cannot bear himself voting for Mahama will have an option. And remember, there are those who will be voting somehow, on ethnic grounds. No doubt. Those guys will have an option. And that will benefit Alan Martin in the coming race. So, look, as we move to 2024, as the poll numbers will show, because we are measuring this effect, it will become clear as to who is benefiting from Alan's entry in the race. From what we have seen, NDC is not suffering from Alan's entrance in the race. But
really?
NDC is blocked, very united in their support for their candidate. It is MPP supporters who are torn between Alan Martin and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
So for the NDC, at least, you don't see Alan's presence making an impact on them, not at all.
No, not at all, because they are still hitting around 92% of support for their own candidate. Only 4% of NDC people are voting for Bawumia, and 2% are voting for Alan. That's about 6%. Now, when you come to MPP, about 11% of them are voting for Mahama at the moment. So if you deduct 4 from 11, NDC has plus 7% of advantage of MPP who have come to NDC compared to NDC who have gone to MPP. Now, what the Mahama needs to do is to keep steady and maintain his lead among floating voters, which currently he leads 53% compared to Bawumia 16% and Alan 14%. These are the people who will decide the election. At the moment, Mahama has a huge lead among them. The only thing he needs to do is to maintain that lead.
So if John Mahama can either keep this level of performance or improve on it a little, are you suggesting that Fitch and EIU will be right?
I think these guys are working with numbers now, but with Fitch, it's very clear they were using our data because they've seen that there's some relevance and truth in it, and it's quite sound in science. I believe EIU will do the same thing, but they won't tell you because they've never produced any election polls before. So I don't think they will divert by showing the polling numbers. But probably eventually they may do so when they realize that the pressure is on for them to do so. The numbers are not really good for the MPP. I mean, anybody who says they are in good shape, I think it's misleading them.
Please, when are you doing your next polls?
We're starting towards from December to January.
Okay. We're looking forward to the results of that poll. Thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Mr. Musah Dankwa is Executive Secretary, Global Info Analytics, speaking to our Executive Director, actually, Global Info Analytics, having a conversation with us on the EIU and then the Fitch projections that all seem to be going in the same direction. A likely victory